This isn't just about basketball. About the moment a single rookie looked at the entire WNBA system and dared to pull the trigger. 6 words. That's all it took to flip the balance of power, to turn whispers of frustration into a full-scale rebellion. The league thought they could silence her, dismiss her as just another newcomer complaining about Colts. But instead, those words became a weapon, a shot aimed straight at the league's authority. And what followed wasn't just controversy. It was chaos, retaliation, and a chain reaction that's still shaking the WNBA today.
So obviously I have the first injury and I sit out 4 games and then I come back and I play really well.
Yeah.
And I feel really good. And like even this begin the year, like I played great. Like I started the year really good. Like I felt really great. Like my numbers were great. I was shooting the ball well. And then I get hurt and it's like, okay, like you gotta get healthy, whatever. You're like, I'm gonna do whatever I can, you know, to get back to what I was doing and whatever, feel good.
To understand why those 6 words hit so hard, you need to see the cracks that were already spreading through the league. The WNBA wasn't in control. It was unraveling, game after game. The officiating turned into a circus. Didn't just complain, they raged. Players weren't just frustrated, they were calling it out publicly. Angel Reese said it was diabolical. Kelsey Plum called it absurd. Even coaches, the ones usually forced to bite their tongues, were speaking up and paying fines just for saying what everyone could see. And how did the league respond? Not with fixes, not with accountability. Instead, Commissioner Kathy Angelbert threw gasoline on the fire with a single, tone-deaf comment. No winning team complains about officiating. Think about that. She wasn't just brushing off criticism. She was insulting the very stars that keep her league alive. The message was loud and clear. Your safety, your respect, your game doesn't matter. Just shut up and play. That's the environment Caitlin Clark walked into. A league on fire and leadership that didn't just fail to put it out, that poured more fuel. Caitlin Clark wasn't built to be just another rookie. From the moment she stepped onto the court, the numbers were staggering. A 55% spike in league viewership, over a quarter of the WNBA's entire economic activity tied directly to her. She wasn't just part of the business model. She was the business model and everyone knew it. But then came the injury. Most rookies would have used that time to rest, recover, and hope for a quick return. Clark chose something different. Sources say she spent her time studying not game film of her opponents, but the officiating itself, tracking patterns, logging mistakes, building what some insiders described as a personal case file on the league. That's not frustration. That's calculation. That's a player who realizes she's not just fighting defenders on the court. She's fighting the very system that's supposed to protect her. And once she saw how deep the failures went, Clark knew she couldn't stay silent. But when she finally made her move, she didn't do it with a rant at a press conference. Saved it for the perfect stage.
Just been like the stop and go of everything. Like,
Yeah.
And also like with the type of injuries that I've dealt with, like there's no real, it's not like 6 weeks. All right, you're coming back for
Right.
the Connecticut Sun game on August
all about how you feel in the
30th or
moment.
whatever. It's like, how do you feel? Like, and even like when I have been back, like, I don't know how I'm going to feel the next day after playing, like when you're dealing with like these type of injuries. So I think just like the patience of dealing with all of that and giving myself a lot of grace. And
when Caitlin Clark dropped those 6 words, the league had a choice to make. They could confront the issue head on, defend their officials, or at the very least acknowledge the storm that was already boiling over. Froze. No press release, no statement, no fine, nothing. And that nothing was everything. In sports, silence is louder than words. By refusing to act, the WNBA admitted what they could never say out. But that Clark had them cornered. They punished her. She would become a Martyr, a rookie turned revolutionary, taking on the system. If they defended the refs, they risked alienating the very player carrying their league into the spotlight. So they tried to wait it. They thought if they said nothing, the fire would burn itself out. But Clark wasn't the one left exposed. That silence became proof not just to players but to fans that the league had no control, no backbone, authority. And worse, it sent a message to every team and every official watching. Clark is fair game. That's the kind of message that doesn't just hang in the air, it differs. Because when leadership won't protect their biggest star, the court becomes an open battlefield. And the very next game would show just how dangerous that silence could be. When Clark finally returned to the floor, everyone knew what was coming. The crowd could feel it, the players could feel it, and especially the referees could feel it. Her words were still echoing, hanging over the game like a storm cloud. Whistle or lack of one wasn't just a call anymore. It was a test of whether the officials would protect the league's brightest star or prove her right in front of the world. It didn't take long for the answer. Jason Sheldon drove in and delivered a shot straight to Clark's face. Not a bump, not a hard contest, an outright strike. Dangerous, obvious, impossible to miss. And yet, after review, the refs called it a flagrant one, a slap on the wrist for a hit that could have sidelined her again. Moments later, Marina McBride shoved Clark with two hands, sending her crashing to the floor. No play on the ball, no basketball move, just a shove meant to hurt. And what happened? Ejection, no serious consequence. The crew chief, Ashley Gloss, later defended it, saying it didn't rise to the level of an ejection. The fans saw it. The players saw it. The world saw it. It wasn't about toughness or rookie treatment. This was targeted. This was personal. And the irony, by letting it happen, the refs didn't just retaliate against Clark. They proved her point. They exposed the very incompetence and bias she had warned about. Just a message that the league's silence had already made clear. Caitlin Clark was on her own. But Clark wasn't alone. Not anymore. When the referees failed to do their job, someone else decided to do it for them. And that someone was Sophie Cunningham. Late in the game, after watching her teammate take hit after hit, with no real protection, Cunningham snapped on a drive to the basket. Sheldon went up for a layup and Cunningham dragged her to the floor. Hesitation, no apology. It wasn't a basketball play. It was a message. The moment wasn't about the sun. It wasn't even about the scoreboard. It was about sending a warning shot to the officials themselves. If you won't protect our star, then we will. And Cunningham didn't try to hide it after the game. She said exactly what every fan was thinking. The refs had been building this up for years by refusing to protect the league's top players. She didn't call it an accident. She didn't sugarcoat it. She called it out for what it was: payback. In that instant, Clark's 6 words transformed from a statement into a movement. It wasn't just her against the league anymore. Her teammates had taken up the fight, turning silence into retaliation and retaliation into a rallying cry. The WNBA wanted Clark to shut up and play. Instead, they got a team willing to fight back on her behalf right there in front of the cameras. The Connecticut Sun game didn't just expose Caitlin Clark to dangerous fouls. It exposed the referees themselves. For years, officials could hide behind excuses, brush off criticism as heat of the moment or part of the game. Not anymore. That night, under the bright lights, the entire world watched them fail. Ashley Glass and her crew had a choice: enforce the rules and protect the integrity of the game, or let their pride dictate the They chose pride. Minimized the blatant hit to the face. They shrugged off a two-handed shove, and in doing so, they proved Clark's accusation better than any highlight reel ever could. From that night forward, those officials weren't remembered for their careers, their championships, or their calls in big moments. They were remembered for losing control, for being the referees who let their ego outweigh player safety, for being the crew that turned a national stage into evidence of a broken system. That kind of stain doesn't wash out. Once fans and players believe the refs are compromised, the trust is gone forever. And in sports, when trust disappears, so does authority. Clark didn't destroy those officials with her words. They destroyed themselves by showing the world she was, right? And with every replay, every slow motion clip shared online, their reputations sank further into the front. But this wasn't just about a few referees. What came next showed that the problem wasn't isolated. It was systemic. What happened on that court wasn't an isolated meltdown. It was the symptom of something much deeper. A system that looks broken at best and complicit at worst. Because the numbers don't lie. Legal analysts pointed out a chilling stat. Caitlin Clark, one player, has taken 17% of all flagrant fouls in the WNBA this season. 17%. That's not random. That's not rookie initiation. That's a target, plain and simple. And when you pair that number with the league's silence, the picture gets darker. If the commissioner dismisses complaints, if refs minimize blatant aggression, and if Clark absorbs more dangerous fouls than anyone else, you have to ask, is this incompetence or is it strategy? Are rival teams being allowed, even encouraged, to wear her down physically, knowing the league will look the other way? That's why Clark's 6 words matter so much. She didn't just call out a bad whistle. She cracked the facade. She showed fans, players, and even the officials themselves that the league's foundation isn't solid. It's crumbling. And once one player proves the system can be challenged, others will follow. This isn't just Clark versus the refs anymore. This is a fight for the soul of the WNBA. The battle over who holds the power, the league office, or the players who actually make the league matter. And Caitlin Clark just showed everyone how to fire the first shot. Caitlin's Clark didn't just throw a punch at the system. She exposed how fragile it really was. 6 words turned into a movement. Silence turned into chaos. And the league's authority cracked under the weight of its own failures. But here's the question no one at the top wants to face. What happens when she's not the only one? What happens when other stars realize they don't need to play by the league's rules? When they see that speaking out makes them stronger, not weaker? What happens when the referees step onto the floor already knowing that fans, players, and media don't trust them anymore? That's not just a controversy. That's a power shift, and it's happening in real time. Clark fired the first shot, but the war for control of the WNBA is only just beginning. The next move, that's what everyone's waiting to.